Wagwan people, Mr. B in the flesh. And this is a slightly abridged program, if you will. But we're in the election period. I mean, high time now in the election because we have, what is it? Today being the 16th, election is 18 days away in Jamaica. And yeah, I'm gonna say, boy, you don't live in Jamaica. Why you no? You're so interested in a Jamaica politics. Well, guess what? It don't matter where in the world I am and I live. I'm a Jamaican, and I see myself as a social commentator, if you will. I have a good group of people who pay attention to the things them that I do, what I say, and of course, and I try to live one way, you know, uh, where you live by example, and you use your life as an example for other people. Plus, me have two adult kids, and me want them to follow my lead. But most importantly, again, as a Jamaican, my view is that we have a responsibility to teach each other. And so it is for this purpose, that am running these sessions right into the election period so we can share thoughts and ideas. Now, there are a lot of people in Jamaica who love talk about, boy, I'm interested in the voting thing and all of that. And I want to address that today as well because I believe that as a Jamaican, all the way, all of us who have the opportunity to should participate in your national elections. Now, we're coming from four, not far enough, four as a set of people. And I think over the years we have tended to take the whole business of voting lightly. There was a time when we had this political divide between Jamaica Labour Party and PNP, one a socialist and one a communist, they would claim, and the other one a capitalist. And so, the people voted because of the heightened level of information and misinformation that was presented around either side. And so there was we're gonna dive into a deep dive into the statistics so you get a better picture of where we're coming from. But it's gonna be elections. Holy political things been going on in Jamaica as we speak. Um, you know, see where there has been one violent incident at a campaign thing going on in Manchester yesterday, which resulted in the one loss of life. I'm told that the person, it was a JLP meeting, and two JLP supporters had an altercation. One stabbed the other one, and and the person, the injured person, died. Unfortunate, because we're a figure again as big man or woman. We first of all need to respect people's perspective. We may not agree in terms of which side you choose, but that's your right as a human being to decide which direction you want to go. I am not a person who, I have no horse in the race. I don't even have any favorites, if you will. All I'm doing here is providing information, a point of contact where we look at issues and we point out the stress points in the issue, which allows people to process, and it helps you to make a decision. That's what I'm trying to do here. But one of the first things we need to do is to respect each other, and in the course of demonstrating that respect, you demonstrate also the respect for the person's right to have a view, even if that view disagrees with yours. And I believe too, we should continue to be involved in. I just want to use the opportunity to welcome my friend Venora Fletcher. Ven and I go back a long ways, and it's all and one person who sort of in our own way keeps me on my toes. So I have to behave myself. Worse, I know that Auntie Ven is tuned in. Wherever you are joining this broadcast, you're on Facebook, YouTube, you're on the website, the Yard Media website. Welcome. Okay, now, so enough things are going. I see where the kerfuffle between the PNP and the JLP in respect of the audio tape that was broadcasted at the JLP halfway through meeting is now the source of well, it's trending towards becoming a legal issue, where based on what I have heard, there was a clear interference, doctoring of the tape that was played at the rally to give the impression that Mr. Knight had been essentially bad-mouthing the current PNP leader. Just for the record, people need to know that KD Knight, eminent attorney that he is, retired now, and has largely retired himself away from politics. But as a senior member of the People's National Party, a member of the old guard, he functions in clearly an advisory capacity, but his the respect that he has earned over the years, that stands. And I believe too, whether you you're one side or the other, it is very important that we have people of the ilk, of a KD Knight, regardless of which political party. These people have, earned the right to speak. They have been in the trenches in the politics at a time when plenty of our younger people are going to run away from it. Also want to welcome my friend Fitzroy Grant, all the way, thousands of miles away. Welcome you to the show as well. And feel free to comment as we go along. The comments pop up, so I'm able to respond as well. So again, KD Knight, a senior servant of Jamaica, and I'm not talking about PNP now, because KD served Jamaica, and I think when he did the allegation level against him certainly impugns his integrity and his reputation. And I really believe that as big men, Dr. Tufton, a member of the JLP's cabinet, it was an unfortunate position that he took. But I hear him on one of these radio programs, I think it was with Dion Jackson Miller, where he was doubling down as if to say, I don't know who he's talking to. And this is the problem that I have, why I have such a disregard for politicians, because of this kind of disrespectful behavior. There's no necessity for Tufton to have gone the route that he did. And even if he did do it deliberately and you get called out on it, say you do crap, because that don't require nobody to go get Sherlock Holmes and all of them things. The reality is that the tape is a doctored tape, and you by your own utterances you stated that this is what KD Knight said. So you are acting on the misinformation and things. Me personally believe that as Jamaicans, we need to do better than this. And if this is the best that our political leaders can offer as examples to the population, we're in shit street, right? I don't care. What makes it even more confounding is that Tufton is a man of letters, a man with a PhD. So it means that you have, done your time in terms of your academics and scholarship, and at least apply a little thought. And so the behavior tells me it's deliberate. And what that deliberate behavior does is that it continues to dig away at the foundation of our country and to plant this divide between Jamaicans as a population. We have to do better than that. Anyway, I see where the elder PNP man has decided to go all the way. He's not only utilizing the court system, but he's also requesting the involvement of the police, because in his view and from all indications, a cyber crime has been committed. If you doctor a tape, if you play a recording knowing, and especially when you get called up on it, that the material was doctored, what you are doing is advancing the crime against the individual. And I think, I would have believed that a man of the ilk of a Tufton thing. It says that I think we need to wait, Fitzroy Grant, I think we need to wait until we can conclusively determine which recording was the original one. That I don't think we need to wait on that. The evidence that, listen, in the first instance, KD Knight is an eminent attorney at law. And my history of, just following pronouncements made by the eminent attorney over decades it doesn't support that he's a man who is inclined to speak out of turn. Plus, he provided the actual recording and the context in which the conversation was being had. When you match the two tapes together, it is clear that material was removed from one tape, right? Because I remember distinctly, I follow the politics close enough to remember distinctly at the time when that particular argument was advanced by KD Knight, where he was saying it is important that the party come together and address the reasons, address the issues that had arisen between the various groups that was dividing the party. And so the tape that I heard played on Sunday and caused me to do that reflection. And so when I heard the other tape, I realized I remember the conversation from KD Knight, because he was remonstrating with the leadership of the PNP, right? That only need to fix the problem. Because, and he's right, that there are people in the thing who are making these comments against Golding. And what he's saying is, it is issues like these that have, because they remain unresolved, that is punishing the party, or has been punishing the party. And it served to punish the party to the extent that they lost the election. So there's no necessity to wait on that. I think what they're doing is them trying to figure out when the doctoring take place. That is why he asked, KD Knight asked the police to become involved, because you can know when the first time the doctored tape comes in, because it's gonna come in on an IP address, and you can then use that and track it right back to the person who think, right? The fact is, Fitzroy, we are in a political cycle, and there isn't an awful lot of time left before the culmination of that cycle. The issue was deliberately posted in the public domain to create rancor amongst the voters, one side versus the other, and to not address it and to keep the conversation about it going is giving the thing a pass, which allows it to find roots within the thought process of the voting population. Remember, these people are going to vote in an election down the road, which is just 18 days time. And if you leave it alone, the police is not going to address this thing within 18 days. And so it is important that we have a conversation because we have the information, right? We have the information. It's not like it is being hidden and you think. All the KDNet is asking is we need to find out when and who doctored the tape. But it is obvious that it's doctored. Now, clearly the JLP people seem to have a lot of money because the simple way to deal with that would have been that it is my recollection that there has been scathing utterances against the likes of Mark Golding that is widely available in the public domain. Yeah, but that's not the issue we are addressing at this point in time, right? The issue is there are scathing commentaries made up against both sides all the time, but we are addressing this particular issue. And so the fact that there may be others doesn't take away from addressing this one that is in front of us, because this is the tape that was played, and the purpose of putting that out there is to create disfavor, to continue stirring the pot of rancor and disfavor amongst the voting population. And so that is the reason why you have to address this particular issue. Forget about everything else, because if something else comes up, then you make a decision as to how you deal with that. The problem with us is that most people want to take a passive approach, and it is going down this passive road, right, that creates the confusion in the minds of the electorate, right? And so I believe that it is important that these issues are fully ventilated in the public domain, given the timeline. If we were going to have election a year down the road, then it would be it would give more traction to your position, Fitzroy. Not that it's not that I'm not necessarily disagreeing with you. I'm just giving you what my own take on it is. As Venora says, Katie is not one to back down on his pronouncements. If he was guilty, he would admit, explain, and apologize. And he's not known to be a liar. And I am in a full agreement with your observation there, Venora. Fitzroy, I believe that before we hasten to draw unilateral conclusions, we must. But Tufton has made his response long time. Tufton's response, though, it's not a withdrawing conclusion. Tufton basically said, "Him now back down." In other words, remember is tested, because it's important from the perspective he's operating on to project a strength, right? Clearly, the party must have a whole heap of money out there that them can be willing to pay a court settlement. It's obvious that what was done is a fudging of the information, and so there is no, as a mature adult, I would have expected that you that you put up here and you cry, boy, I'm sorry, me piss by my shoes, or piss by your shoes, sorry, right? And you think, but that's not the intent that is being presented here. These guys are saying, they want to be wrong and strong at the same time, and hoping that the person who has been tainted by the commentary will just slink away into the shadows. And you see, the problem that I have with all of this is that what it does is that it mars what would have otherwise have been so far a pretty good and decent election campaign. And my thing is, demonstrate that respect and just walk away from the comment. I'm sorry, I got this thing, I never knew it to be a thing, and if created any rancor, any step ahead, I'm sorry, and we move on. But the longer we continue to have it out there, it is serving a particular purpose. And it also says that you don't have no regard for the public at large, the voters at large, because this is the way you think. You believe that you can just do and get away with anything. And that is the problem that we need to address in our country. And we need not to be afraid. Me, I don't afraid of nobody in a boss. I don't care if thing, because I'm not doing this for no likes. I do this. This is my civic duty as a Jamaican, right? And that is to put information out there to help people to to look at the balance in terms of your thinking, right? Because you can't wrong and right at the same time, right? And if you do something and you're wrong, right? We have to find a way, right? It beats me to Opal Dixon. I remain. I don't know what is this. No, Opal. Listen, it's politics. We're in a political environment, and you know, in as much as the issue, why he played the tape to do exactly what he did, right? It was a way to win a forward from the crowd. Yeah, a big crowd out there, and you want to sink your opponent, and so here is your opponent, a senior member of your opponent's your opposing side, that is saying their leadership, the members of the organization don't trust the leadership. Essentially, that's what it was. That was the intent, right? And he succeeded in putting it out there. Now, the person who is impacted by the comment, right, is responding as he has a right to do as a Jamaican, as a person whose reputation is being injured by the playing of a doctored tape. He has a right. And those of us who have access to and were able to do the comparison, the media, the RJR programmer who had him on the pro, because she called him while he claimed he was somewhere in his constituency doing some campaign, and it's only because she can't take a position because she worked for RJR, but she was splitting the hairs, and she said there's a distinct difference between the two tapes, and Mr. Tufton is on record as saying him don't see no difference. So clearly he knew what he was doing, and he's doubling down, right? Doubling down. And what that is accomplishing is the objective of the person who played the tape to keep that as the talking point, right? Well, guess what? We have bigger issues for Fry, because the teachers, we see where the Jamaica Teachers Association walked out of a ministry, a meeting with the Minister of Finance, because the minister is offering a four-year salary and benefits contract to teachers that is saying to the teachers, in year one, you're not getting an increase. Now, keep in mind, inflation around at an average of about 3.5 to 5 or 6% per annum in Jamaica. So any money where you earn today, right? If inflation, whatever, let's say them pay you that a portion of money today. In a year time, if inflation, if your salary increase is not higher percentage wise than the rate of inflation, you earn less money, right? That are just basic economics, basic explanation of the economics of a wage discussion. And so the teachers decided that, listen, well, let me go back. So 0% increase in year one, the first year. Year two and the following years, a 4-year contract, you earn 2.5%. So the increase is below the inflation rates. So essentially what you're asking teachers to do is to work for less money. Now, let me give a background here. You remember that just about 2 years ago, the sitting government, paid themselves on an average 2 to 250% salary increases, right? The average cabinet minister in the Jamaican government today earns just about anywhere between $2 and $2.5 million Jamaican dollars a month, right? The average teacher in Jamaica don't make $3 million a year, does not earn $3 million a year. And so here is a minister of finance who earned just about $26 to $28 million a year, is saying to teachers that you're going to have to hold strain with the $3 million a year salary, right? Where you have to pay your school fee, rent, mortgage, bus fare, car, whatever. And you're not getting an increase next year, and the following year you get 2% increase, right? These are people who are completely out of touch with the realities of day-to-day Jamaicans. And Jamaicans need to remember that when they go to the polls on Wednesday, the 3rd of September, right? Because these same jokers pay themselves a piss pot load of money, right? And then them turn on and say to civil servants, boy, watch out, just hug up that and don't even bother, nobody say nothing, right? And then she expressing surprise. Oh, I thought we were doing so well, and they walked out of the discussion and thing, right? So these are the factors that voters must now be focused on. The voters, with respect to Tufton's representation and the playing of thing and the glee with which he's celebrating this whole kerfuffle that he has stirred up over the last week. The voters need to keep that in mind. But this is a minister of health that is presiding over a health system that continues to fail Jamaicans. Now, let me make it clear now, because the two sides guilty in a boss, right? In terms of how they have invested with the development of the Jamaican population. But they man are up on the hot seat. So while you're kick off and a carry on and a beat your chest, the hospital right now, there's the rehabilitation of Cornwall Regional that has been ongoing now for the last 10 years of this administration cycle. Don't make no mistake, because the PNP no out of the woods neither, because they are part and parcel of the problem. But at this time, it is the current administration that is at the wicket, right? And people need to focus on these things. Right? Fitzroy, I've made it clear that this is a problem with our politicians. This is not a JLP or a PNP problem. It's a political problem. Go and accept the salary increase, but the PM no need a salary increase. The PM earn declare him thing $160 million. He might do with like a $20 million a year increase. I him decide, and that was a decision. I think it's not that him don't get the money, and he need to be careful with that, because once him is a government, him on the government payroll, him will get pay. So he might tell you that him not take the pay, bullshit that. He might take the pay and push it into his constituency fund, but it does not change the fact that the Prime Minister got a salary was moved up to some $30 million a year. So don't buy into that argument, right? He never waived. Him can tell the public that him waive it, but the Ministry of Finance or whoever pay him still cut him check for 30 million. Whether him cash them or put it in a thing, but him get paid. Don't buy that kind of fool argument, right? And that's what politicians tend to do, which again, the reason why I resent politicians, because it's not an effort that is gained at uplifting and educating people and, getting people to think on things in a positive way. Everything is divisive. It is either me or, right? It's never about the country. It's about the party. It's about them. Because this argument here that is out there, but the Prime Minister don't take his pay and things, so he work for free. Him only gonna keep him 8 million or 9 million him used to earn. And if we really believe that, I have a bridge that I want to sell, right? Now, a lot of Jamaicans out there and them say, boy, That's why me can't bad. In as much as me resent the politician, them, me believe that as Jamaicans, we need to participate in the process. We're coming a long way. There are some nearly $2 million voters on Opal Morrison say uh, Fitzroy was who come here. Listen, yeah, I got too fast. Let me take one topic at a time. Let me respond to Opal. We need to stop looking at critical issues through a JLP, PNP lens. We need to look at it based on what is best for Jamaica overall. What is beneficial, I think, should mean to Jamaicans. And I couldn't agree with you more, Opal. And again, this is what I would love us to be doing in fora like this, wherever it is, whether on my thing here or anywhere else. That way we focus. I'm going to come down hard when I sit rubbish, right? But I'm going to come down hard equally on either side, because at the end of the day, we want to help the critical thinking skills of people to develop that, right? Fitzroy, you on this $160 million is only 1 million US. How much people in Jamaica earn $1 million US? And especially take. I again, let me just since Fitzroy raised this point, I don't really have a problem with anybody that earn any amount of money, regardless of how much money they might earn. I have absolutely no problem with that. But if you decide to offer yourself up as a servant of the country to do public service, and the rules preclude you from being an industrialist or a business tycoon, you can't have the two things. My problem is not with the pay me make money. I really don't care if I make how much money. My thing is, if you want to make that kind of money and continue to do what I'm doing, you can't do it in our politics. That's simple. Either you give up the politics and go and be a business tycoon, right? Or you give up the business tycoon part, right? And follow the same rules that you set out and go serve the people of Jamaica. That's my thing. I don't care how much money you have. It's just what I care about. If you're gonna make that kind of money as a while you work as prime minister, then it means there's something wrong with the system, right? That's my position. Something wrong, right? If you want to be a business tycoon, go be a business tycoon and leave the politics alone, right? That means anybody now have to ask you no kind of question, right? You don't have to answer a damn soul when you're out of road in there. You think them could have God rest Mr. Webby, or any other big name businessman in Jamaica who will make a pile of money? You think anybody can ask them about them answer to them shareholders, right? And if the shareholder don't like what them are doing, the shareholder fire them, right? Or if you don't want that, you have a private business and you own all of the shares for yourself, and you make as much money as you want. If you don't do nothing illegal, you don't have to worry about what anybody think. That's my view. But if you're gonna be the Prime Minister of Jamaica, you must declare your assets, as Opal Morris Powell said. You must declare your asset. And the declaration that you put out there must make sense. And who don't like that, come fight me. Right? That's how me feel. Okay. So let's go back to the discussion about the voting. Because all the people tell you, boy, I mean, we're coming far away as a Jamaican, right? We're up to, hundreds of years of slavery, and we don't have no say. We don't have no say in the affairs of the country. And by 1944, that changed universal adult suffrage, and the Market G again. Well, let's keep the conversation right. The Integrity Commission don't have no problem with Mark Golden in declarations. The Integrity Commission have a problem with Andrew Holness' declaration. That's cheese versus chalk, right? When the Integrity Commission finds something wrong with the man declaration, we discuss that. But Golden's declaration is not a subject for discussion because it's not in the public space that is the cause of any problems. There is no, so they to try to conflate one with the other. The two things are inconflatable. Full stop. No. So we come from a far place in terms of voting, right? In 1962, when we first but Venora Fitzroy, no matter which side I political divide in depart, him want to support one versus, nothing wrong with that. All I'm saying is, if you raise discussions, and they must make sense. And in this instance, the comparison of the two leaders in the declaration of assets and liabilities is not a discussion, because only one of them is the cause of a problem. Now, if Golden thing did have holes that the Integrity Commissioner raised that, then we can discuss it, but it not have none. So there's no reason to even go down that road, right? Andrew Holness' declaration is a problem, and it need to as long as it's a problem, it is a even target for discussion, because it's a problem. If it wasn't, then we wouldn't be talking about it, right? And I make no apologies for that. So let's go back. In 1962, 72%, almost 73% of Jamaicans voted in that independence election. In 1967, the voter numbers went up to 82% of Jamaicans voted, right? And 72 was the game-changing election. Michael Manley came into power. 79% of voters were. So for a long period, what we were having between 1962 and 1980 was the highest levels of voter turnouts. By the 80 election, 86% of Jamaicans voted in that election, right? The same amount voted in the 76 election as well, because there were issues. There was the ideological differences between one side and the other. And so there was people were voting whatever their interests were, right? So what has happened subsequent to that, though, is that after the 80 election, we started to see a dwindling of the participation. Keep in mind that in 83, there was a snap election. The PNP never participated, and only about 30% of the voters turned out for that election. 89, the numbers went back up to 78%. And by 1993, that's when we started to see the drop, because come 93, the clear divisions in terms of ideology from one to the next had started to, there seemed to be a convergence of the political management style of the two parties. And so I believe too that in a more of an open free market environment with less of the political angst, we sort of diffuse the two political sides to a large extent, and so people never saw big difference between the two, and so the participation started to drop. But people, my thing is, it don't matter whether you vote for PNP or JLP. My thing is, if you know how far we have come from as a country, and how much people have given their lives, shed them blood, so that you can have a vote, you would have go out there and go vote. It don't matter who you vote for. You need to go out and vote. But Fitzroy just say, well, horses for courses, I say. Everyone knows civil service. I mean, largely aligned to the PNP. Well, people, listen, again, people free to decide who they want to vote for, right? And one of the things that me love is me have friend on both sides of the political divide. And me and them have friend. Bosom, one of my best friends. Me and them have the most strident political discussion. And I mean, I only Bustamante a bigger labor right than him. But I'm a friend, right? And so we enjoy the differences. What we want to think, and just Venora just said it, is objectivity. You know, it no matter. Listen, me no want nobody to come and everybody I say what me I say for my program. You know? So Fitzroy, you're welcome, big time, right? Always we disagree. Me want you on the program, right? And then when you say Venora, I was just about to attribute the same thing to you. But we it no matter whether you slip a show or not show. It no matter because upon the program everybody welcome. All we say is let's conduct the conversation and we respectful and say if you're an Andrew Wellness man, me have no problem. In fact, me I open up the program, me love the man, the leader them come on the program. Let's talk. Let's hear, make Jamaicans hear what you say. Because the whole away a family. When you look in our thing where we come from, we are Jamaicans, so we are family, right? We just may disagree with all certain things, which is what has been happening with our politics. I don't think there is as much rancor as there used to be in the back years, and which is a great thing, right? It's not a question of you know who you feel will do a better job, and this is a forum that you're free to come and tell me how your side are gonna do a better job. I have no problem with that, right? But you just have to know, say, when me think of rubbish, yeah, say, me go call it out, right? I remain a staunch Michael Manley PNP, but that part of the movement seemed to be drastic. Well, Fitzy, we are coming from the same time, you know, so I don't disagree with you. The reality, though, is that, again, come back to where we say in 2000 and between 1997 and 2007, the politics in Jamaica changed. And it changed for a number of reasons. One, I think our ilk of as voters coming out of that 1970s period, we are a lot older. You know, we firm in our thinking. We're less tolerant of some of the rubbish that passes itself off as politics, and I think more of us we're even more greatly inclined to be voting now on issues, right, as opposed to just being stridently supportive of a group because that's what you inherited as a youngster coming up. The PNP has changed over the years. There's no question about that. I believe that in the 1990s period, when PJ came into the equation, he moved the party away from its social justice platform. And that has had a significantly deleterious effect on the People's National Party. Because what happened is the kind of support base that the party had, there was a disconnect, especially with some of the older thinkers with respect to the party. And then to the younger people, they process information differently. We're in a more electronic, what we call a digital environment where things operate just completely differently. And I guess too, you have a wider array of platforms on which to ventilate your issues. So, you know, and then again, to people are looking for their own self-interest, right? That's a good point, Fitzroy. The politics as reflected by the current crop of JLP policies. In fact, I read the JLP book that they put out, and you are absolutely correct. You could see a deliberate reaching into the policies of the PNP of previous times, and which a lot of it finds greater appeal to younger people. There's no question about that. So I totally agree with you with that thing. But then again, you could see where Andrew Wellness tended to model his approach, his style of Michael Manley, and he has done that. You know, people will be critical of him differently, but I have made the same observation. Opal says, I think currently some of these so-called political pundits who coin themselves as bloggers have really modeled the political landscape by spreading misinformation. No, but Fitzroy, first of all, we are always, you and I are on the same page. I saw what that Wellness made a direct shift towards a socialist agenda couched within the free enterprise model. But what he's doing is trying to appeal to the masses, right? The problem, though, that I think the JLP is having in this election cycle is that while they chase the macro approach to the economic management, those macro approaches have not really reached the masses. And that is a challenge that they have. Because after 10 years of talking about prosperity, while you have framed the thing out, it's not reaching down at the bottom. And so the feedback that I am getting is that on the street, on the ground, this is the expressions from the populace, right? There are some people in Jamaica who have done well, and the current environment suits them. And nothing wrong with that, right? But what you have to keep in mind now, and I say this to the two sides, is that at the end of the day, it's the little barefoot man who do the voting. The bulk of the votes come from the mass of the population, right? What has been happening is not enough of these people, not enough of the people is participating. Fitzroy said that is a better strategy than to drive away the historical and traditional base of the original PNP party. A good point again. But again, one of the things, Fitzroy, change is one thing that is constant as long as you're alive. Change, right? The politics in general, not only in Jamaica, but politics overall, there's a shift in the focus, the political focus, globally. And so, you know, it is that shift that political organizations have to be, they're now grappling with. The speed with which it happens, again, there was a time when it was the hardcore supporters that carried the party. But the newer voter who is coming on is going to be voting on different bases. Your job as a politician is to understand it. You know, there is more a lack of directness, if you will, in respect to which the parties interact with their supporters. And all of this is going to be tested come September 3. Where have the two sides? How are they able to relate to their public, right? Because you can't sit down and wait on the 750,000 people who always vote. They are always going to vote, right? The hardcore supporters for the two sides is almost equal. The general view out there, though, and the people, my friends on the JLP side, will tell you that they are aware that the PNP have a bigger support base than the JLP. So the question is, will the PNP have the, be able to bring them out? Because it is clear that a lot of people who normally cast for the PNP never voted like in between 2016 and 2020. A huge number stayed away, particularly in 2020, when only 37% of the voters turned out. So that is going to be interesting in terms of how this is. The issue of, what messaging you're sending to your side. I know the Holiness Administration, we talked about that book earlier, as to the slate of accomplishments that the party has had over the time. And so, how has that reached the average voter, right? Regardless of whether you are a diehard or not, the person in the middle, especially, because there's more than 1 million people have not been voting. 1.1 million of the electors on the list is not voting. How do you reach those people? My thing though is that people need to see voting as a right, and a right that they must exercise every 5 years. This is an opportunity to speak to the people who want to represent you, and you should use this as an opportunity for them to work for your vote, and not that them come with $5,000 or $6,000 or $10,000 wrap up in our envelope and give thing. That because them buy a vote. They need to earn your vote, right? And then you need to measure them. What did you tell me say you're gonna do last time before voting time, and how have you accomplished those things, right? And because none of what you say you're gonna do, me not feel it. So as far as I am concerned, you know do nothing. That's the kind of conversation that you need to be having with your MP or whoever are coming in here and say they want to represent you, right? So that because them need to know, say, and you hire them. By your vote, you hire these politicians. Politicians, now work for themselves, you know. They work for you, the voter, right? You work, you are the ones who employ them, right? I don't know if I agree with this, that they're steered away from the upper echelons. To some degree, maybe, but I was in Jamaica recently, and I don't get that impression anymore. I think a lot of these people seem to be looking at the thing from a different perspective. But again, change, and the way, one of the things that is changing is the way how people view politics, right? Who controls the education? How do we say to the voter, you know, why you have to participate in this process? That is what is going to be critically important, right? How you communicate your intention, and then how we measure as voters, how you measure where your representatives say them are going to do versus what them actually do, right? We have to get to that, right? Um, the so these are the things that you know I'm saying to people. You have to get up out there and vote, right? Whatever your concerns you have, find an opportunity to address it with whomever is your representative. We need to encourage these political parties to have more of these town hall meetings where people go and voice their concerns, right? Whatever it is, there's a concern, road, water, everything. People, you need to remember that a politician is being employed. So this is your, what we call, excuse me, this is what you are going to call now your evaluation, right? And you know the question of evaluating the opposition. Remember, opposition parties now have no money to accomplish nothing. So the argument about having expectations and the opposition putting out, you know, what they are gonna do, that'll just talk. Because if you know win, you have is when you have the power, you can do things. What you are going to challenge your opposition party for, right? What you are going to be challenging your your opposition for is their stewardship of the time that they have been in the you know, since you have been in opposition, have you participated as you should in the debates that the country have? Have you showed up? What are you doing within your own constituents relative to the other people? You're not on money, you know, so you can't say the opposition never do this, never do, because them have no budget for implement nothing. The sitting administration is who control those purse strings. But have they given a good enough account of themselves as an opposition? And do you think that based on how they have done or conducted themselves, are you able to, do you believe that you can trust them with the stewardship of the country? And then you have to also look at, again, where are we with the current administrators? Are they, how much respect am I getting from the leadership of the current administration, and respect for me as a voter, as a Jamaican, right? We have politicians who are common assault for them, tell the voter, go put your fucking X beside the bell or whatever, or the head or whatever. You know, is this how you want your political representatives to talk to you? Because those utterances are are an indication of a lack of respect, right? The reality is, if you allow that to run, all it's doing is continuing the same levels of disrespect. So we have to go, you know, it's going to be an interesting vote. I believe that that the you know the two party, they've been in the business for a long time, more than, you know, PNP is 80 odd years old now, the JLP just a few years younger, but they've been there a long time. These are our own fellow Jamaicans, and as you know, the approaches are different. The corruption issue, in my mind, is a big issue, because what corruption does, no matter how good we say them are steward the country's finances, if you are filtering money to your friends through the people who help you get elected, which is what politicians do anyway, it deprives poor people of the availability of those resources. I believe too that, you know, attention must be paid to the wanton waste of public resources. We see it, that, for example, the school bus thing, while the school bus project is an excellent concept, its implementation leaves a lot to be desired, because we have $1.6 billion that has been put into this project. You only pay less than $300 million for the old bus them. So what are you going to do with the other 1.3 billion? It means that clearly the money they come for finance something else, which don't have nothing to do with buses. That for me is an indication of waste. We need to, I see Fitzroy and Opal been a backing and forthing, and Venora about financial stewardship. Let me be honest. Let me say this though. We cannot deny both politics in Jamaica is a cesspool of corruption, but you can't deny that the last couple of years, the last 7 or 8 years, what I've seen operating with the current administration takes the cake, right? The bus thing, for example, which is the most recent one, is something to pay attention to because it is, my opinion, a tremendous waste of public resources. And I can only think of one reason why you do that. No, it's because it's a way to finance elections. PNP was guilty of doing the same thing with, you know, some of the road and works program them used to do back in the 90s when them can't lose no election. But, you know, it is for the voters to go there and vote. Hold your representatives accountable, responsible, and accountable, right? I don't believe that we are at this point in our existence where, excuse me, any politician worth them salt who gonna take the reins of Jamaica is going to squander the country's resources. Keep something else in mind, because I know the Jamaica Labour Party love to jump on the thing that, oh, we have brought down the debt to GDP ratios from 141% of GDP to where it is now, some 68%. But the public need to be aware of something, right? In the course of the JLP's stewardship between 2007 and 2011, the debt to GDP ratio went up to 211% of GDP, right? Keep in mind too that the administration at the time, I think it was Mr. Shaw, who was the finance minister, reneged on relationships and agreements that the country had with the International Monetary Fund. It was the first time in the more than 40 years of borrowing relationships from any international funding agency that Jamaica had reneged on its sovereign debt. It was the first time. It has never happened before, and it has not happened subsequently. So it was you have to also remember too, the incoming administration was the PNP, and they were at pains to repair that major injury to the country's reputation. And they had taken the steps, right? They took the steps to start to bring the debt to GDP ratio rates down. So this argument about debt to GDP ratio is a bullshit argument. Take it as me tell you that. And anybody who want to challenge me, come, because I have the information, right? The fact is that the government of the PNP administration of 2011 to 2016 introduced some of the most stringent economic management strategies that hurt the party as well, hurt the party badly, but it began the process of the economic reform and realignment that the current administration now benefits from. The current administration will tell you, oh, we have not done any new taxes for 10 years. You didn't need to, because the PNP had created a tax program in the latter years of its life as the 2011 term that is still in operation today. And what it did is that it changed the tax take. The government was enjoying some $60 billion more in terms of tax collection than they had budgeted for. And so the current administration had no reason to add any new taxes. All they needed to do is to manage the collection measures that that were put in place, and they did that. So again, people need to have information. It is a bad thing when our politicians only use information in a very narrow way, because what you're doing is fooling people up, right? So the debt to GDP ratio, as long as you continued what the PNP was doing, you are always going to bring down the debt to GDP ratios, right? And so that's where we are. So that is not a that's not even an accomplishment that you think, because all they're doing is maintaining. So again, people, let's focus on the facts, right? Let us analyze, let's take the information, disaggregate it, and we look at it, right? What Fitzroy said, this is indeed a worthwhile factor to be considered, but they're definitely putting the enabling frame. Well, Fitzroy, when you have economic space, remember, if you earn $1 and you owe $2.10, you have to pay off the excess, and you have to go in a thing. So when you bring down your debt to a position now where you have 42 cents out of each dollar where you can work with, then you can talk about building out stuff. But if you come from zero, you can't build nothing, right? And that is the hypocritic arguments that is out there, because people are not arguing with all of the information. You cannot, until you create that economic space, you can't do nothing, right? So when the government have paid civil servant 2%, when you had a debt to GDP ratio of 100% or 140%, you can make an argument that you can't pay anybody the money, right? But when your debt to GDP ratio reaches here, and you're boasting, oh, we have economic space, you have built a whole heap of road and RAS and all kind of thing. Pay the people their money, because you have the economic space to do it. I don't believe that any teacher worth them salt should earn under $6 million a year. Pay them, because once we start to build out education, what we do is build a better society. A more educated population is less likely to be involved in a criminal activity. You're better able as a country to attract investment, right? When you have a population that can read and write and do the maths, right? And Billy Walker, yes, you're right. Nigel Clark, what Nigel did, and he was one of the first person who I hear. He said we never had to change much because the PNP had laid down the foundation already. What they did is that they stuck with it and give Nigel Clark that. Yes, you are correct. His management of the economy was commendable. There are some aspects of his political stuff. Well, he wasn't really a politician in my mind, and so some of the stuff that he did, I never find favor with. But in terms of his thing, so yes, I commend the former finance minister Nigel Clark. He was a hard negotiator because he come from the business. Come from the he had a strong business background. Remember, he was the one who basically built the Desmond Blades empire. So his capitalist background is solid, and he transferred that into the administration, as did Don Webby, who at one time served in the ministry as an assistant to the minister. So just use the opportunity to again, condolences to Don Webby's family on his passing. Thing. the Fitzroy is saying what the tax collection rate combined with the productivity factor will help to marshal process. The thing is, Fitzy, I think the country is on an excellent track right now. There's no question about that, right? Any incoming administration would be foolish to interfere with the dial as it is currently set, right? Little tweaking, we need to start to look at sectors in the economy where you prioritize so we can get the best results to take, right? And this is the thing, as Billy Walker says about managing the windfall. Because remember, when the PNP set up that tax collection package, I remember that like it was yesterday, because I have a little input with a business there, and I had to say to my partner, brethren, just follow the line, because what they created is they were collecting a lot more taxes than they had budgeted for, because of the mechanisms that were put in place. The tax administration department, they had started employing a tremendous amount of professionals. I remember these two girls came to the business 1 week I was in Jamaica, sharp like a tack, and in addition to doing the audit, she pointed out to us some areas where we weren't claiming, because you can make tax claims in Jamaica, right? You have a whole heap of tax incentives that she was pointing us to that would make the business, serve the business very well. But a lot of that came up under Nigel Clark's stewardship. And so that is why the country never had to put in any new taxes, because all he needed to do is to collect taxes from the business out there, where they were insisting on the registration of businesses. So if you bring more people into the net, you're increasing your tax collection. And that was a lot of that came from Clark, right? But again, to my point, the point I made earlier, it would be foolish on the PNP's part if you win the election, assuming that them, because they feel that they're going to win. But it would be foolish if they come in and try to change anything. And I don't see that happening. So, but this is the kind of conversations, guys, that we want to have over the next couple of weeks. And though, listen, no matter which side you are in terms of what your political thinking is, it's just that we have the red, orange and the green cloth them so much. We try to wave those colors in terms of the arguments. Let's discuss the pointers, right? What I want us to do next week is we want to take the two manifestos, because by the time they know the two of them out, and we're going to put them side by side, and we're going to take bits and pieces out of them. I'm also going to see if I can try and get some of the people who are putting themselves up for office to come on this program so we can share more. We want to hear from them, right? You know, but continue the conversation, and we look forward to doing this again next week. Again, want to just thank you, all of you guys who take your time to come on. I know you have options where you can do with your time, but that you guys spend the time to come on. My good friend Fitzroy, all the way over there, way over from the Union Jack side of the world. Glad to have you. You have really kept the conversation going. My very good friend as well, Venora, Opal Morris, probably you're always there with us. Mikey Campbell, what Mikey say here? Mikey, we as of the program coming up next week, Wednesday, Thursday, we're gonna have a program, and Saturday, and we're gonna start taking calls. All right. But again, let me just use the opportunity to thank those of you who participated, those who joined, those who are listening under the quiet. Visit my website at yardmedia.com. I want to just invite you, check out my my new book. It's called Unbroken, Sheila 2.0 Unbroken. It's on sale now on the website at yardmedia.com. It's also available at on Amazon.com. And of course, when you go there, you can look out for some of the other books that are there. Top Rankings, The Chronicle of Jamaican Badness, and of course, Sheila Part 1. That's all the time we have for today. More time.